Butcher of Basra here, and this is my fourth commentary video for Napoleon Total War. This is a 1 versus 1 online multiplayer battle on the Pyramids map. I'm in command of the French, and my opponent, HUNTSMAN shot.GUN.rusty, is in command of the Russians. This was a ranked battle, and the rules for this engagement were a maximum of 2 artillery pieces and no fixed artillery. I decided to bring 2 howitzers, but my opponent, shot.GUN.rusty, broke the rules and brought 3 20-pounder unicorns, which was obviously pretty frustrating. And over here you can see his army, and his build is in the top left corner of the screen. Now the thing about 20-pounder unicorns is that they are pretty expensive, and if you're going to bring 3 of them into a battle, you're going to be compromising the number of skirmishers, line infantry units, and cav that you can actually bring. And as a result, you're going to have a much smaller army. But anyway, seeing that shot.GUN.rusty had 3 20-pounder unicorns, I knew he was going to really cause a lot of damage before I could actually face him. So I wanted to get over to his side of the map as soon as possible to minimize the damage that his unicorns would do. However, if you do decide that you are going to run your men on this map, especially if you're playing as a European faction, they will tire very fast. And if they become exhausted, they take a morale hit. And exhausted men tend to rout very fast, so I didn't want to run my men until I absolutely had to, and that was when I came under fire from his 20-pounder unicorns. Anyway, the only faction that can actually run their men on this map without taking a very big hit to their fatigue levels is the Ottoman faction, because they have the ability resistant to heat fatigue, so they can run their cav and their men much longer than European factions before they actually get exhausted, which makes them pretty useful to play on this map. Anyway, over here you can see shot.GUN.rusty's unlimbering his 3 20-pounder unicorn units, and he is just about to get some fire on my men because they are almost in range. And this is where I decided I was going to start running, because if I continue to march at a slow pace towards his army, I might preserve my men's stamina, fair enough, but by the time I get there, I won't have that many men left to face him. So anyway, the bombardment of my army begins, and shot.GUN.rusty starts to target the line infantry unit that I have on my very far right flank with all 3 of his unicorns. And this is obviously going to cause it to rout pretty soon, but I guess I'd rather have my line infantry units get pounded by his artillery rather than my cavalry or even my general. Anyway, my army's going to continue to advance towards my enemy's right flank, and in the meantime I'm just going to be quiet for a bit and let you enjoy the blood and gore with some music. Over here my army has finally gotten into range of his skirmishers and his line infantry units on his very far right flank, and as you can see, that line infantry unit on my very far right is wavering, its morale is red, and in a minute I think it's gonna rout. But I'm not too concerned with that, because he's just focused every single one of his unicorns onto that unit, that the rest of my army is pretty much intact. And over here you can see he's going to move some of his line infantry units and his skirmishers to face the threat that is now rolling up on his right flank. Now I realized that my opponent was getting his line infantry units into position, and they were still relatively unprepared at this point. So I rushed up 3 units of chasseurs to open fire on him while he's still deploying, and you can see that I managed to get quite a few kills at this point. And his skirmishers are still out of range of my skirmishers. And this is the thing about campers. I mean, they tend to spam artillery or skirmishers or any sort of cheap unit, and then they just sit there. And once you actually start to attack them, they freeze, and their micros, it's pretty shit, as you can see here. I mean, look at this. His line infantry units are staggered. He's not really in a line of battle, and I'm pretty sure he's panicking at this point. His skirmishers are not in a really good position to start opening fire on me. He's managed to move his cav to face this threat now, but in a minute, you can see over here my cav is coming in response to his cav. But in a minute, you're gonna see how my superior force on his right flank is just gonna steamroller through his flank, and you can see how one of his line infantry units is already shattered now. At this point, the battle's gonna be over pretty soon, unless if he can respond to this massive flanking force by moving in his units on his far left. And as you can see, he's not really moving. The only movement I can get from him at this point is from his cavalry, and they're gonna roll up on my far left in an attempt to either attack my lancers or cause some disruption and harassment. And I wasn't really paying attention to my right flank because they weren't really taking part in this flank overload tactic. So he managed to charge a unit of lancers into my line infantry. I didn't put them into square in a timely fashion, so I took some losses. But he charged me head on, and that's not a very good idea. And as you can see, his lancer unit just got decimated. And as you can see over here, I finished off his right flank. I'm not going to stop attacking him. I'm going to keep pressing the attack. He's relatively disorganized, but I am under heavy artillery fire, so I'm not going to stop. I'm going to start pushing up on his skirmishers and finish them off. In the meantime, his line infantry units, as you can see, are in the back doing nothing. Anyway, over here, I saw his 4 units of lancers stationary, doing nothing, so I was preparing an attack on them. You can see I've moved 2 lancers to distract them, and then I have some line infantry units to move up on them. Because remember, line infantry units are much more effective against cav than other units of cav, unless if you have heavy cav, obviously. Now when you're about to go into a big cavalry fight, you want to make sure that you pin down and surround the enemy's cav, because people tend to use them in blobs. What you can do is just surround them, so if they decide that they want to escape, they can't really easily escape. And as you can see over here, I've charged one of my lancers straight head on into them, and then another unit into their flank. And on the left side of the screen, you can see I'm moving in another lancer unit to attack them in the rear, and also a unit of line infantry in case they need support. But obviously they're not going to need support, because this final charge in the rear is just going to shatter them. And that's the end of my opponent's cavalry. Meanwhile, I'm going to continue pressing the attack down his center. He only has 1 unit of line infantry and 2 skirmishers facing my main body, while he has 3 units of line in his very rear doing nothing. And he really doesn't stand a chance at this point. I mean, it's a matter of mopping up. And I'm just going to continue to push forward, routing units as I go. You can also see he's got his general pretty exposed, and I'm going to take advantage of that. But as I've said, those unicorns were really getting on my nerves, and taking them out was obviously going to be a matter of pleasure.
Our men are running, sir!
Right over here, my lancers have finally silenced his pesky unicorns. Shotgun Rusty's pretty much defeated now. There really isn't much to say. If there's anything to take away from this battle, it's that if you are facing an opponent who has a superior artillery force, don't sit there and take fire from his artillery. Rush him, look for his weak points, and if possible, take out his artillery early on to minimize losses. Good game to Shotgun Rusty. I probably won't put up another video for another few days. This is mainly because I'm gonna have to play some more battles. Before I left Kuwait, I had a lot of replays saved, but the new patch corrupted a lot of my saves, and so I'm gonna have to fight some new battles. I had quite a few good ones that I wanted to put up, but I guess that's down the drain now. Anyway, don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe if you've enjoyed this, and stay tuned for more action.
I'm loving it.